On behalf of the Professional Baseball Strength and Conditioning Coaches Society, I'd like to welcome you to the PBSCCS Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Messina. All right, everybody, I'm here with Logan Jones of the Arizona Diamondbacks organization. Logan, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate your time. Tell the listeners about yourself, if you would, please.
Yeah, man. So first and foremost, thanks for having me on. I appreciate the work that you do. And I think it's a good resource for all, strength coaches in professional baseball. But me personally, I'm a minor league strength coach with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I'm assigned to the AZL. So just like other minor league strength coaches, I'm responsible for pretty much the creation and implementation of warm-ups, strength programs, conditioning protocols for my players assigned to the AZL. And as needed, I'm able to assist with both minor league and major league rehab that takes place at Salt River Fields, our spring training facility, especially when the big league club is on the road because of our proximity to Phoenix. I'm a graduate of Guilford College in Greensboro, North Carolina, where I played baseball. My degrees in exercise and sports science and health sciences. Following graduation, I completed an internship at the University of Kentucky, where I worked with their baseball, volleyball, and women's basketball teams. Following the conclusion of my time in Lexington, I accepted an internship with Wake Forest University, and I was the only intern on staff there for the year. And I was able to work with every team pretty much that falls under the Olympic sports heading, including men's and women's soccer, field hockey, volleyball, baseball, you name it. And then from there, I accepted my position now with the D-backs in January of this past year and just completed my first season. And I'm looking forward to what the second season with our organization has in store.
So I want to get right into it. You mentioned you're just finishing up your first year. You're about to go into your second year. And you got kind of the double whammy, so to speak, with working rookie ball, so you had a lot of younger guys from the States, but you were in the AZL, so you had a lot of guys that are from the Dominican as well, who might be, this is their first year in the United States, they're not comfortable with what you guys are doing, whatever, so to speak. So kind of just give us a recap of the first year, maybe some lessons that you learned, some challenges that you experienced, and then the adjustments you're going to make for the year coming up when you go back to the AZL.
Yeah, man, for sure. So I guess to start, I think the AZL is a good place for me in year one. Allowed me to learn from lots of people who are a lot smarter than I am. Kind of got my feet wet with the ins and outs of pro ball, made some mistakes and learned from them. Luckily, we have a great sports medicine performance team with the D-backs with lots of experience and knowledgeable people who were able to give me advice on a daily basis, and that really made the difference for me in my first year. But like you said, kind of with working with those Latin guys, there are some issues or challenges working through, language, cultural barriers, stuff like that. And I'm not fluent in Spanish. I did learn a lot more Spanish than I thought I would. So the language barrier can be present at times. But I think it's pretty cool because they teach me some Spanish. I teach them some English. It's kind of like a little give and take right there. And I think for me as a coach, it kind of helps me because I'm able to serve athletes from many different backgrounds and cultures, which is key working in baseball. And in addition, experiencing success, I think you got to be able to gain the trust of all your players, not just the ones that you're sharing interests with. And as I mentioned before, being in the AZL and operating at our spring training facility, I was fortunate to kind of show up to work every day surrounded by people eager to help and impart their knowledge for the betterment, not only of myself, but for our team as well. And then with working with those young players, I think I have a couple of things in mind that I kind of, are my goals that I try to teach those guys early on in their career. And the first one is just educate them on how to be a professional. So pretty simple. And I think the emphasis there is on being accountable, developing a routine, staying consistent in that routine, that's probably much different than what they've been accustomed to before. And then, because like you kind of alluded to, most of my guys are fresh out of high school, college, or straight from the Dominican. So helping them settle in and kind of become comfortable is a pretty high priority for me. And after we've kind of achieved that, I think my focus is primarily on introducing the principles that are important to us as a sports medicine performance team with the D-backs. And basically one quick example of this is just the importance of a proper and thorough weight room warm up prior to their baseball activities. A lot of those guys have gotten by on, just showing up to the ballpark and kind of going through the motions. Their ability has taken over. And now they're not able to do that. So that can just kind of serve to put them in a good position physically, but also psychologically. And then the last thing I got is just kind of lessons learned and then adjustments that I'm looking to make going back, heading into season 2. The main one for me is it's just extremely important to have a plan for how you envision every session to run, whether it be a warm up, lift, conditioning, whatever it may be. But it's absolutely essential that you have the ability to adjust from that plan. So being able to adapt in an environment that's kind of ever changing and where new challenges arise on a daily basis, it's key to maximize the potential of everyone. And that's much different than maybe working a collegiate setting or a high school setting where you have a little bit more control of things that are typically outside of your control. So with this being said, just becoming aware of the instances and kind of learning how to deal with them is something you learn in time. So with that being said, that's an area I've identified for myself that I want to improve on heading into season number 2.
Yeah, I think having a plan, especially with the younger guys, at least have some sort of outline of what you want, and then it's always something's gonna happen and you're gonna have to adjust. But if you don't have any plan at all and you just go and kind of freestyling it and just hoping for the best, you're setting yourself up for the absolute worst.
No, I completely agree with you on that.
So you're learning a little bit of Spanish then with those guys?
Yeah, I have to, man. It's like, what's the most effective way for me to take a group of guys that speak no English and teach them our arm care protocols or kind of try to explain to them what their conditioning is, or, this is what I have written up on the board today for our team lift. Like, there's a lot of hop down on the floor and demonstrate stuff for sure. But I think learning just simple, anatomical landmarks like body parts and directional type stuff and kind of learning their lingo goes a long way to kind of building that buy-in, if that's what you want to call it, the trust factor between the two parties that can make the difference and consistency on a daily basis with what you're asking them to do.
Yeah, it's been described to me as Spanglish and charades. A little bit of Spanish,
that's a good
a little
one.
bit
I've
of
never
English,
heard that one.
a little bit of charades. But it's funny, man, like you say with the buy-in, you tell Spanish guys that, yeah, I'm trying to learn Spanish, and they look at you sideways. They're like, no, you're not really trying to learn. And then when you speak to them in a little bit of Spanish, they're like, whoa, this guy actually is trying to learn. Like, that's cool. I'm all for it. And then before you know it, you're buddy with them, and they're teaching you all the words that you're not supposed to know or use.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. I hear a lot of those types of words, but that's another conversation. So
yeah, for sure. So what do you believe in within strength and conditioning that others think you are crazy for believing?
That's a really good question. I don't know, that I believe in anything that other strength coaches think I'm crazy for. At least other strength coaches that work in pro ball. Primarily because of most of the knowledge I've had until this point in my career has been given to me by coaches and mentors that I have lots of respect for. But with this being said, I think the notion that more is better is still pretty prevalent in athletics, but especially in baseball where, we're playing on a daily basis. And when we're not playing, we're asking the guys to do a lot of other things. They're kind of taken away from their physical readiness, if that's what you want to term it. But I think there's a fine line that we kind of walk with, like I just mentioned, playing every day, and then we throw in a couple of training sessions, and then the demands that come with being a professional athlete. And it's pretty easy to find yourself kind of worn down, halfway through the season, and you look up and it's like, man, we still got 50, 60 games left, or for me in the AZO, hey, we still got 25, 30 games left. and guys are like, I don't really know like how I'm going to feel when I wake up in the morning, much less get out there and play a game every night. So because of this, I think we have to be very cognizant of what we're asking from our players on a daily basis, and what toll that takes on their body over the course of a season. And we talk about it all the time within our team, within the D-backs organization. We look to give the minimum effective dose with whatever it is that we're doing. So basically, anything more than the minimum effective dose is going to take away from another area of importance, and their physical readiness. So if we're prescribing loads or intensities or volume, that is maybe a little bit more than they need, but that we would like to give, then that's probably going to take away from something that they're doing on the field, which, when we're asking them to show up and perform at a high level every night is something that you got to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, I'm there with you, man. And one of the things that kind of gets overlooked sometimes is like these guys will go in and take extra swings in the cage when you're not looking. They'll be out throwing a ball against the wall and working on their fielding an extra 100 throws a day. And like you don't think about that stuff sometimes. And that's all just volume that's adding up on them, adding up on them, adding up. And so if we're adding extra work, sometimes that is not the right thing to do. 100% agree with you. Sometimes that minimum effective dose is what you need because those guys are baseball players and their baseball stuff comes first, and rightfully so, their skill work and all of that. And before you know it, you see a guy in the cage after a 7 o'clock game, it's 11 p.m., and he's taken 100 extra swings before he goes to bed, and he's got to lift the next day, and he comes in and he's dog tired from it, and you're like, but you got to be able to make those adjustments. Like you said, you got to have a plan and adjust on the fly. So spot on with that one. So what do you think makes a strength and conditioning coach successful? Maybe just in general, everyday setting of any strength coach anywhere, and then maybe in pro ball specifically.
Okay, that's a good question. I think it really depends on how you define success. For me, I don't necessarily define it, by job title or the places you've been or the notoriety behind your name. I think it has more to do with daily personal and professional development and kind of asking yourself, waking up and what have I done recently to improve my knowledge of myself, my athletes, or my craft. I think all those things kind of fall within the same category for us as strength coaches. And I think it starts with being proactive in your efforts on a daily basis. And if you're successful in doing that, in my opinion, the rest is going to take care of itself. But I think specifically for professional baseball, kind of as I alluded to before, I think being able to adapt in real time in a given environment is extremely important. It can be so easy, and I found this out this past year the hard way sometimes. It can be so easy to get caught up in how things were supposed to go and kind of lose sight of where your feet are at the moment. And in addition, I think being able to relate to all kinds of players, younger guys, vets, American, Dominican, you name it, doesn't matter. It's going to go a long way in building that trust within a team. And I think lastly, just focusing your efforts on learning how to be a quality teammate is crucial for personal and professional development. And this means taking responsibility for your mistakes and taking initiative to ensure those mistakes don't happen again. That's important. And just being a good communicator in an environment that's often hectic, and that can be the difference in your team, your organization, but also you personally being successful or not. So largely, I think it depends on how you define it. I think people look at the word success, and there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of define that word. But for me, it has less to do with your job title or kind of like the notoriety behind your name, and more to do with, are you the best version of yourself every day when you get up, and are you doing your job to the best of your ability?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. And the thing is, like, the job title thing, some people take it so serious, but like you said, you're a part of a team, and honestly, you're a part of a few different teams, like your own specific affiliate team, your strength staff team, your whole medical team, and then the organization as a whole. You're a part of that, and at the end of the day, like, we're all working for making these players better and moving them up through the organization so that the organization succeeds. And so, yeah, you may be in Arizona League or single A or double A or triple A or, not in the big leagues, and you might not have that title, but you're still working as part of that team and that organization and like you said, being accountable for what you do and being proactive with your own efforts helps the whole team get better. So really good stuff there. And I like also, too, what you said about just how you define success. Some people, it is that title or the money they make or the car they drive or whatever, but some people it's much deeper than that and much more profound. So right on with that one, man.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. I mean, I just think that it is easy, it's easy for everyone to get caught up in that stuff that may be a little bit more superficial. A lot of the times someone else a lot of times tells you what your job title is. They tell you all these different things, but you don't necessarily have control over those things. You have control over like what you can do every day to improve, to put yourself and the people that you work with in the best position possible to be successful. So I think that kind of ties in with what I said, but I think it's much more well-rounded than just, hey, I'm this or I'm that.
Yeah, and I think the people that put themselves in that situation, they're proactive about their own learning and bettering themselves to better the team are the ones that end up moving up and getting that title and notoriety that other people think is success anyway. So, the people that are in those positions are in those positions for a reason because they've worked hard, they've set a good example, they've put themselves in a spot to help the team, to make the team better, and they've been rewarded for those efforts. So I think it all comes full circle, but if that's your priority of being successful, I think you're missing the big boat of just making yourself a better person and a better coach and a better teammate. So right on, man. Agree 100%. So what advice do you have for others in the field? Maybe some guys who are in the college setting right now who might be interested in getting into pro ball soon, or maybe some coaches who have been around for a while who, just want to learn from somebody who just finished their first year in pro ball.
So I think for me, it's pretty simple. I think just making sure that you're prepared for your next opportunity. So that for me, that means, you are where your feet are right now, and you're doing everything on a daily basis to put yourself in a good position, kind of like I just talked about. But that you're prepared for whatever the next opportunity is going to be. So for me personally, I graduated from Guilford College in 2017. I knew that I wanted to get in strength and conditioning. I knew that I wanted to work in baseball. Didn't know whether I wanted to work in the collegiate setting, the private sector, or in pro baseball. And I think for me, I had all of my stuff that I had to have together, like simple stuff, cover letter, resume, references, stuff that everybody, that, bare minimum, you have to have that type of thing. And you have to do those things well, because oftentimes that's the first kind of checkpoint, when there's a job opening or a position open, that's kind of like what is the first go round. And I think, making sure that you're knowledgeable and well spoken and that you do things to the best of your ability, to do things the right way, whatever the right way is for you. Because I think other people notice that stuff. And all of those things kind of collectively come together just to make sure that you are indeed prepared for your next opportunity. Because at any point in time, it could come. And if you're not prepared for that, then, like you said, you can miss the boat. I mean, these things come and go so quickly, and there's so much, change a lot of the times that, there's people that decide to come in, people that decide to go out, people that, enter organization movement. There's a lot of stuff going on all the time, in pro ball, but also at the collegiate level and the high school level, all that stuff, that you just have to be prepared for that next opportunity. You have to have your stuff together and be ready for when an opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that, man. I'm a big believer in preparing yourself, and that opportunity may come tomorrow. It may come 10 years down the line, but if you're not prepared for it, you're going to miss it. And I'm a big believer that you should be over-prepared for that next opportunity. And if it doesn't ever come, it doesn't ever come. But I think I'd rather be over-prepared and have the opportunity come than be under-prepared and get caught with my pants down or whatever and be like, I missed my opportunity there. Well, it'll come again in the future. It might not come again, you know what I mean? Like you said, there's a lot of change and things happen very fast, and if you're not prepared and you get caught blindsided, they're going to move on to somebody else, and that opportunity may never come. So, so kind of along those lines of preparing yourself and being, ready to roll if an opportunity comes, where are you going to keep your sword sharp? Where are you going for continuing ed? Are you reading books, attending seminars, you listening to podcasts? Where are you going to keep yourself sharp?
So I think for professional development, I mean, there's tons of great information, you name it, online and books, podcasts, videos, YouTube. YouTube can serve as a resource for a lot of people. But just to name a couple, I think for professional development, I highly recommend checking out Zach Couples, who's a PT and a strength coach. His website is Zach Couples, ZACCUPPLES.com. And he writes tons of great information on courses and seminars that he attends, and kind of gives his opinion on stuff worth checking out. Some of those things are postural restoration, functional movement, nutrition. But he's attended a lot of good stuff that I think he writes in a way that I can understand a little bit better. So if I take something, one good example is I've taken some PRI courses online, and a lot of the stuff that they talk about is they use terms that I've never heard before. They use references I've never heard before, and then going and reading his review of these courses kind of put stuff in perspective a little bit better for me. I think for personal development, I highly recommend checking out a company called Landmark. With the D-backs, a large majority of our team have taken Landmark courses or forums. They offer the forum basically serves as a prerequisite for other courses, and it's made a drastic difference in my thought processes. I've learned a ton about myself and how I operate, and in turn, I'm able to be a better teammate and be a little bit more effective when working with my athletes. So that's more along the personal development. It has nothing to do with strength and conditioning. It has to do with being a good person and kind of learning how you operate a little bit better. For books, I think two that kind of stick out to me. Again, one that has to do with coaching, one that has to do with personal development. Conscious Coaching by Brett Bartholomew. Great book. He does a good job of kind of spanning his knowledge, not writing the book to hone in on one specific type of coach, but no matter what setting you work in, you can take something from it. And then Extreme Ownership by Leif Babin and Jocko Willink. Also a great book. I actually just got done reading that last week. So good. A lot of personal lessons kind of and their experiences being Navy SEALs and trying to relate that back to the civilian population. They do a great job. And then seminars, I think nothing in particular, just taking the opportunity to attend coaches' conferences and clinics and meet others in the field who you can learn from. I think that goes a long way. I think I just went to the North Carolina State Clinic the other day at Duke University and met a couple guys that I'd never talked to before, and just spitting out bits and pieces of information and taking those and how can I use this with my guys. And then lastly, I think podcast, a guy by the name of Jeremy Boone does a podcast, talks a lot about personal development and success, and it can be accessed through iTunes or YouTube channel. And again, his name's Jeremy Boone. Just pretty well-rounded guy who doesn't hone in on anything specific, but he talks about just how to be a good person and relating that to coaching, the art of coaching, if that's what you want to call it. So,
yeah, one of the biggest things I'm taking away from this is you're not just focusing in on strength and conditioning stuff. There's other ways to make yourself better as a person, which will help you as a strength coach. And so it sounds like you're doing that. Like you're doing a little bit of personal development, a little bit of professional development, and kind of merging those to make yourself the best version of a coach that you can be.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think in the same way that I've seen younger athletes in general, maybe focus a little bit more or, utilize their resources that they have a little bit more on skill development versus attention to their body, their strength development, their understanding how their body moves. It's kind of the same way. I think a lot of people spend a lot of time on what specifically can I do with my programming or with my, when I'm out on the floor coaching, but maybe not as much time is spent on learning, well, maybe this is why I have this thought process. Maybe because I have that thought process, it's affecting what I do on the floor. There's a lot of tie-in, I think, between the two. And that's something that the Diamondbacks, us as an organization, we spend a lot of our time and resources on, pushing some professional development, but also personal development, just to ensure that we're being the best teammate that we can be, and putting our, the Diamondbacks as an organization, but even smaller than that, our sports medicine performance team in the best position we can to be successful on a daily basis.
Yeah, 100% agree, man. Sometimes it's like you're reading strength book after strength book after strength book, or you're listening, like you said, in the PRI courses to words you've never heard, and it's like,
right,
it's challenging on you, man. And sometimes you just need to switch gears so that when you come back to that strength stuff, you feel refreshed and you feel ready to go, and it's just a different stimulus for you. So I'm right there with you. It sounds like you're on the right path of development for yourself. So kudos.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I want to hit you with a lightning round. What do you got? You got time for me?
Yeah, man. I got you. I got you.
All right, let's do it. So
I don't know if I'm good with being on the spot like this, but we're about to find out.
Nah, you'll be good, man. First question: who is your biggest influence in the field of strength and conditioning?
Within the field of strength and conditioning. Okay, I'd say that's tough. I can't single anybody out. I think both the strength staffs at the University of Kentucky and Wake Forest University, collectively, those two groups of people, gave me my first opportunity in the field of strength and conditioning, and that propelled me to the Diamondbacks, giving me an opportunity to join their organization as a strength coach. So those three groups: University of Kentucky strength staff, Wake Forest University strength staff, and the Arizona Diamondbacks sports medicine performance team for giving me my first full-time opportunity in the field. It's made a huge difference in my life. So
yeah, every group that you work with kind of provides something special for you for your development and making you a better person, better coach. So I'll let it slide. One piece of equipment to train with, what would it be?
Ooh, one piece. I think I'm gonna have to go with a kettlebell. I think that there's just so much stuff that you can do. A variety of movements, changing how you load them, just a lot of stuff that maybe you can't do, with a barbell or something like that. But I think that's a tough one. I think I'd have some real issues only training with one piece of equipment for sure. But I think I've kind of noticed my own training has kind of fallen in line with a lot of what I'm programming for my guys, just because I want to test it out myself first. And a lot of the stuff that we do is with, dumbbell, kettlebell type stuff. So I think that I would have to go with the kettlebell.
Yeah, it's a super versatile piece of equipment. You can carry it around with you in a lot of places. And when you get to an affiliate, you'll learn, like when you go on the road, you need one of those. So
yeah.
Biggest accomplishment professionally and or personally?
That's a good question. I think professionally, it'll have to be landing my first full-time position in professional baseball, less than a year following, I guess, my graduation or my last internship. I kind of flowed right into it, and I was lucky. I was given an opportunity, and I was prepared. And so for me, that's probably definitely my biggest professional accomplishment at this point in my career.
For sure. Last one. Any career other than strength and conditioning, what would you choose?
I'm gonna have to go with being in the military.
Really?
Special forces. I have tons of respect for the sacrifices made every day by those men and women, and I think that a lot, if not everything that we can do in our job on a daily basis is because of the stuff that those people are sacrificing for. So have tons of respect for any servicemen or women. And I think that if I weren't a strength coach, if somebody walked up to me tomorrow and said, "Hey man, you got to find something else to do," I would probably enlist in the military and make a difference on that end.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's very noble. those people are, you know, next level what they do. I can't even imagine the things they go through compared to, us trying to figure out Spanish and charades.
Yeah, yeah.
In the
I
weight
don't
room,
think.
like, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
I don't think that the books or the movies or any of that stuff is even remotely accurate enough to like demonstrate. It's not. I don't. In my opinion, I don't think it's anything that you are able to understand until you experience it. And thankfully, we don't need everybody to experience that type of thing. We have plenty of great people that are they're willing to take it on because that's what they want to do. So I'm very appreciative of that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, we've been going at it for about half an hour, man. A lot of good stuff in this one. If the listeners want to get in touch with you, talk some more shop with you, where can we go? Are you on social media, or where's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, I think I mean I can spit you off my email. And I can also provide my phone number and then my social media as well. So my email is ljones at dbacks.com. That's ljones at dbacks.com. Phone number, I'm pretty good at responding to texts, whatever, phone calls, 919-906-6892. And then both my Twitter and Instagram handles are at Logan_Jones 95. And again, I'd love to kind of talk shop with anybody who has any questions for me or feels like that they can provide me with any pieces of knowledge, any nuggets that are going to help me, heading into my second season of professional baseball. I want to be a resource for people that are up and coming in the field of strength and conditioning, but I also want to be the recipient of a lot of knowledge from people who have been where I am right now. So I think it kind of goes both ways.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Well, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day and talking shop with me, and we'll be talking soon.
Perfect, man. Thanks for reaching out. It was an honor to be on with you, and I look forward to talking with you soon, man.
All right, everybody, that concludes this episode with Logan. I hope you enjoyed this one. I love that he was so open about sharing his first year and what he learned and the adjustments that he's planning to make. And I think there was a lot that can be taken away, whether you are interested in getting into pro ball or you've been around for a while. 3 things that I took from Logan: have a plan, but be prepared to adjust it. Be proactive in your efforts to improve yourself, and make sure that you are prepared for your next opportunity. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll talk to you again on the next one.